Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to iAcquire Cliff Notes Tuesday. I am Jiafeng Li. Today, I will talk about the first half of Chapter 3 of Content Strategy for Mobile by Karen McGrane. Today, the topic is adaptive content. What is adaptive content? Adaptive content is you can create the same content and it can be shared and distributed on to different any platforms that you want. I mean, like except for desktop, you can display it on mobile devices and some other devices. NPR, they spent several years to create this platform to make every platform can choose itself, can choose to how to display the content they created. And so there are two key aspects for that. The first one is multiple content structure. And so the second one is tailored visual presentation. So about multiple content structure, what NPR did is to create summaries for each story, and they create long version and short version to give the content more flexibility. And so the different platforms can curate the content to choose which mix, which summary to provide to the audience. And about the audience, about body copy and audio. So NPR, they choose the body copy and audio as equal. So they didn't consider which one is more primary. So when they're creating the content, the audio and the body text, they're making them different mix. So the platforms can choose which content mix to display, for example, they give the video different sizes and different versions. So the platforms can choose itself to display which mix. So about tailored visual presentation is about the design of different orders, different sizes, and typography of the content. So when you see the same story from NPR, but in different platforms, you will see they look differently. And how do they make this magic happen? So there are 5 parts: reusable content, structured content, presentation independent content, meaningful metadata, and reusable CMS interfaces. And today I will be mainly talking about reusable content as well as structured content. And my coworker Norris, he would be talking about their third, fourth, and fifth section in the next Cliff Notes Tuesday next week. So what about reusable content? So reusable content is very easy to understand, which means the content can be reused for other purposes or other platforms. So one thing we need to keep in mind is we need to change this mindset that when we're thinking about creating the content, we usually just think about, okay, I am creating the content just for the desktop. So I'm thinking what kind of sizes, what pictures to use. So only limit my thoughts to this single platform. So the mindset about reusable content is when we start to create content, we already think about to use those content for other purposes and platforms, which will make it easier for the later use. So when we want to make reusable content, we need to know how to write for reusable purposes. So the author talks about three main things. The first thing is to write standalone headlines. What is standalone headlines? So when we see on different devices, the audience, they will think, is this what I'm looking for? Then they will look for the keywords and the main ideas behind this article. So when we say standalone headlines is you are creating the headlines both serving as the link as well as your page titles. So you need to try hard to keep the keywords inside your, the headlines to attract the attention from the audiences. And but sometimes it's not like possible to use the keywords for all your titles for all the stories. So we need to think about how to write multiple headlines. So multiple headlines will be like title blah blah and then link blah blah. So to serve as title and link separately. And also keep in mind, don't bury the lead, which means when the audience, they are looking for reading your articles, they will be thinking the main ideas. So you need to always keep in mind to show your main ideas in different paragraphs or different sections to make them very eye-catching. So for example, like a paragraph, you have different keywords inside one paragraph, but maybe it will be a better idea to separate them into 2 or 3 paragraphs and show more keywords. All right, so now we talked about how to write for your reviews. Then we need to talk. We will talk about the alternative content. So as we will think, there are so many different limits for different platforms. They won't show everything that you create, and because they have like device capabilities limits and stuff like that. So when we have this kind of issue, then we need to think about alternative content. For example, for image, when the image is too big for the mobile device or some other device, then we need to think about how to crop it into the perfect sizes. And also, if we really cannot crop this good size for the mobile device, such as some infographics, then we can only put some text or some alt text for the picture to let the readers know what this content is about. And for the video, audio, it will be a good idea that you provide some transcripts. So the reader will keep reading what this content is about. Even the device will not show like this video because of some device capabilities limits, as I said. So after alternative content and you already write the content for reuse, then we need to think about how to manage all this reuse. Then when we think about manage reuse, then we will think about the content will be in a database, and we need to think about how to make a very good system to make the content reusable in this database. And the process for this is this will come down to structured content. So what is structured content? It's very easy to understand as well. So the content is structured in a certain way instead of like unorganized, undifferentiated. So about structured content, I will talk about chunks, not blobs, and content modeling and package, not pages, and responsive content. So chunks and blobs. As we can understand, chunks is smaller pieces, right? So when we were creating the content, we will think about to make the content more well structured. Then it's always a good idea to create the content into smaller pieces instead of big blob, a giant blob. Because when we try to fit into different devices or different platforms with this giant blob, it's really difficult to make this content be broken into different smaller pieces. So the solution for this, a solution to this is to, before you create the content, you always keep in mind to break them into smaller chunks. So different platforms and devices, they can choose which mix to display, like from different chunks. It will make it much easier. And this we will have a question then how to do this. how to manage the structure in this database, the content database, then this will lead to another topic, is content modeling. So content modeling is the process of making your content more well-structured in your database, more manageable. Then it will depend on the 4 things: content type, attributes, data limits, and relationship. So content type is like, is it this content a recipe, or is it the content an intro for something? So make the content as like different article types. And then attributes. So do we have all the headlines and other things for the same for the different contents? And data limits is like date, like article specification or date specification or different limit for your different data. And the relationship is the relationship between like different article. Can they be shared? Do they have like the similar characteristics and stuff like that? So what the idea behind the content modeling is to structure content into like depending on like your content type, attributes, data limits, and relationship to make everything more well structured. And what is package, not pages? Then this is like a concept that when you're creating your content, you always think about to make it like a separate, like a discrete package instead of just website of web pages for different websites. Then it will be easier to manage. So responsive content is the idea that some web designers, they already advocated to make the content to be automatically reformatted according to different platforms. So how will you achieve this? There are 2 things, structured content as well as the system design. So if you want this to happen to your website, your content, then maybe it's time to invest into a very good system design to have your content displayed automatically on different platforms. All right, so that's all for today, and thank you so much for listening. And next week, Norris will bring you a very interesting topic about the next 3 sections on adaptive content. Thank you.